I have one last thing to talk about, and unfortunately, it's something worse than what we just talked about. But this, I think, ropes around to something that you and I have talked about on the show more than once, and I feel, and I believe that you feel, it's something that is important. Um, Now I had this whole funny topic thing that I was gonna do. Like I had this whole thing planned out. I was gonna talk about this nemesis that I have that's on television right now. But I kind of stumbled into this clip that I found and started researching the shit out of it. And man, oh man, did I find some dumbass opinions. And I was just like, all right, we're gonna shelve the Nemesis thing for a week or two. And I'm like, I need to talk about this.
You went into the comment section, sir. You brave man.
um Now, before we get started, I would like to reiterate for those of you that have watched the show for a period of time, you've probably heard me say this on numerous occasions. I would like to reiterate it before I begin. Even when it comes to the movies that we watch, the majority of them horror. Obviously, bad shit happens to women and sometimes, unfortunately, children. I have stated on numerous occasions, I don't like seeing bad shit happen to children, even though I know it's fake. It's the movie, it's a movie. But I would never say that shouldn't be there.
Sure.
Like, if it serves the story, who am I to say no? If it bothers me, I just won't watch it. It's that fucking simple. Now be that as it may, we've watched a couple movies where some bad shits happen to kids.
And we have
And
more coming too.
yeah, and I've talked about it each time, and I'm like, some of them I'm okay with, some of them I'm like, I would have preferred that not to happen, but it is what it is. Like I know that the kid is alive and well. uh but I stumbled onto something. Now this apparently started developing like 2 weeks ago, but that was kind of good that I was late to it because like there's like a bunch of follow-ups and shit. Sir, are you familiar with an older comedian? He was on Mad TV back in the day. His name is Aries Spears.
Yes, I am quite familiar.
Yeah. Are you aware of the situation that he is in right now with Tiffany Haddish?
No.
Oh boy. Yeah. Now, uh, I don't know either of them super well. I do know who they are. I remember him from Mad TV, obviously. I think I've seen a bit of his stand up here and there on YouTube, but I like not somebody that I go out of my way to watch, but I do know who he is. Tiffany, oh yeah, see, Lucy knows what I'm talking about. um, and Tiffany Haddish, I don't know a whole lot about. I did see her in that Eric Andre movie, and I thought she was funny in that. But apparently, about like 8 or 9 years ago, they teamed up and they were gonna do a sketch for Funny or Die, and apparently the idea for this sketch was it was supposed to be a light comedic PSA about mothers who don't pay attention to who they let watch their children and the bad people that can watch your children, even if you're related to them. So Tiffany Haddish plays the mom, and she has a little boy that's her that's playing as her son. Kid's like 8 or 9, something like that. And Spears is the uncle. And she's like, "Oh, I gotta go do something. Can you watch TJ?" Da, da, da. He's like, "Yep." And the kid's just straight up in underwear. That's it. And he's playing with toys on the floor. And Spears is sitting there. They got R. Kelly music playing. he's got a newspaper with like eye holes cut out, and he's like enticingly watching the child. Uh, there's a scene where I believe he's rubbing baby oil on this kid. He falls into the bathtub with the kid. Like, I'm not going to defend it because none of it was really that funny, but I understood where they were trying to go with it. I'm not defending it, but apparently this came to light, and now they're both being sued as like they're being pedophiles. And the reason I bring this all up, the whole reason I bring this up, is because I've been watching a lot of other people's opinions on this. And I brought up a lot of dumbass opinions, people who have dumbass opinions. Now, that's just my opinion. Of course, you may agree with these people. Totally fine. But one person I heard say, this is something you can never joke about. And I was like, because like I said, I'm school of Carlin, baby. You can joke about anything. Now there's a bad joke. There's a bad joke, but I don't know if you should be arrested for telling a bad joke. Now, kind of some behind the scenes things that I found out about this. Now, obviously, like nothing actually bad happened to this kid. Like nobody actually did some heinous shit to him. I mean, questionable because it was for a video shoot. But apparently the main reason that this is getting bad is because apparently the kids are now older and they're claiming that they're traumatized, which is that I'm not making for that hey, it is what it is. And then apparently, now I don't know if Tiffany Haddish was friends with the mom or if this was her godson. I've gotten two different stories on that. But it sounds like she kind of lied to the mom about it, where it was like, hey, can we use your son for this skit? It's going to be like for some Nickelodeon shit.
Well, I hate that she used Nickelodeon shit because they're already in their own.
Yeah, they're in their own shit.
For that. I'm with you on the Carlin thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a right way to do it and a wrong.
Yeah, there's a right way and a wrong way.
Probably putting Carlin, Jesus. Probably putting R. Kelly music in the background instead of the Benny Hill theme may have been their mistake because one of those sets a completely different tone than the other. And I get it if Haddish lied, that's a thing right there. That's what I think really makes it really bad. Now, I'm kind of skipping over what I feel is an important, like I said, I'm not defending this sketch. I don't think this sketch should have been done, or it should have been done differently. But like I said, I understand, as fucked up and as unfunny as it really is, I saw what they were trying to say. Because at the end of the video, at the end of the skit, because the uncle is doing all this shit to the kid every single time. Now Tiffany Haddish, it's not like she's being a normal sweet mom. She's just like, oh, I gotta go to the post office, and he's like, it's 10 o'clock at night, and she's like, oh, it's that 24-hour post office, yeah, like she's being a neglectful mom on purpose, right?
So it's like that's a factor. Two, by the end of it, the kid is looking at the uncle like he's got like a comic book with eye holes cut out, and he's just like. So it's like, it's trying to say that this is how the cycle happens. You know what I mean? Like I can grasp what they were going for, but they did it in such a terrible way.
They executed it like a North Korean missile launch.
Right
in the ocean. And
I feel that it comes right back to the whole going after the horror movies, where it's just like, now, this is different situations because obviously, and I'm not going to say every horror movie because I haven't seen every horror movie, and I'm sure that there are examples of bad shit. I mean, shit, just alone the shit that the one dude did to Linda Blair in the first Exorcist. But you know, we find ourselves defending the horror movies a lot, where it's just like I said, like the whole women thing. I'm like, I actually think that this empowers women and it like makes them stronger in these movies. Like they're not always the victim. Um, and like I said, there's really horrific bad shit, but if it goes to the story, like that's what it needs to be. It's what kind of fucking movie it is. You know what I mean? So it's like I feel conflicted because I'm like, if the kid really was traumatized by this, that's not good. A. Most importantly, that's not good. Numero uno. The execution of this was god awful. But like I said, I'm like, is it 100? Had it been executed better? Like there are some people saying like, why use a real kid? Like put in like a little person or like an adult dressed up like a kid because then it would look goofier. You
like
know,
Gary Oldman in that movie,
right?
yeah.
And it's like, I'm wondering if like they had done something like that, like it would have not been because I think even afterwards, because like it never, I think it got uploaded and it immediately got taken down because like they shot it and then they sat on it for a while because even they afterwards, like after watching it, they're like, I don't know, and then they said fuck it, and then it ended up on there and then it got taken down. Nobody's really seen it other than those few initial people that saw it when it was up briefly. But then, if I read correctly, if I'm understanding the drama correctly, I guess like Spears was talking some shit about Lizzo. I don't fucking know. It's
That's
not
what
my
I
world.
figured this was coming from. Yeah.
Yep, not my world. It's just what I heard. But this came up in lieu of that. And what was even crazier was is I watched this interview with Cat Williams and I was like, man, he seems like there's like he's not in a happy place right now. Like he seemed angry and kind of spiteful. And then I watched more on the thing, and then I watched the Cat Williams interview again, and I was like, oh shit, he might be right. And I'm like, okay, I don't see him as like angry. I'm like, oh, he's just like he's one of those people with he had the attitude of like, I told you. It wasn't just him being a dick. It was just him being respectfully, I told you. And I was just like, okay, okay. But like I said, it put me in a weird position where I don't really truly defend the skit, but it triggered my you shouldn't censor anything.
Puts you in a very nasty position where you have to remember the age-old saying, the road to hell was paved with good intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I you know, there's a lot of people who get pissed at any little joke. I have heard make 9/11 jokes 3 years after it happened. Of course,
Yeah.
we were dumb high schoolers then, but you know, but even still, any kind of tragic event, they would joke about it. And I also see a lot of people who I think would fit into category A here, who will make Catholic priest jokes at any given point. And that comes up because I was watching Airplane 2 and they made one of those jokes back in like 1981, and it makes you realize, much like the allegedly Kevin Spacey thing, where and not allegedly Harvey Weinstein thing, where everybody knew and they kept making slights about it at every given point, but not doing anything about it. I think this is just me coming from my dad advice from not being a dad, but I can see both sides of that, because like I said, throw the Benny Hill theme in there and give it that sort of slapsticky thing to it, and maybe it would be a little bit better. It's already in poor taste anyway, but how do you talk about something like that is at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to any kind of say, you know, it's something that people will threaten to throw you in the wood chipper for at this point, because
Mm-hmm.
no one is a fan of pederasts.
Yep.
Anybody that you talk to that probably says different it should be on a watch list.
Mm.
Not to get political about it, but you know
Yeah.
what I mean.
It's hard to explain to, because it's like, even when me and Gabe are like not on stream and we're just like chit chatting, he's seen a little bit of my off camera humor. My wife, on the other hand, there is no filter.
Sure.
Yeah, she hears it all. I have a very bad, dark, awful, disgusting sense of humor. I say horrific shit all day. The only difference is I know when and when not to say it. And obviously, I wouldn't say 90% of the shit I say off stream on stream. Now,
Sure.
I will make tons of childlike jokes like that all the time. That does not mean that if I were to see a real life pedophile in action, that I would not fucking break his face in. Like, no, by no means do I tolerate that. Support you. That is fucking awful. Like I said, I've said several times, one of my biggest heroes is Adam Walsh. Or John Walsh, because of Adam Walsh. My bad. Mixed up the
Walsh,
yeah. But like it fucking, but at the same time, like I said, you can joke about it. I wouldn't joke about it to John Walsh.
No.
You got to read the room. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, but I understand that it's also different because, like I said, like I have the ability to read the room. If you're posting the humor online, some people don't even know they're wandering into that room. So I understand that there is a difference. But like I said, it can offend you, and I'm not saying that you should never be offended, and you can be pissed, and you can have your opinions. That's totally fine. But just turn it off and move on with your day. You know what I mean? Like, nobody actually, I mean, hopefully, like I said, I don't know how bad, like, if these kids really did get traumatized, it's fucking awful, and that shit needs to be fixed, and something should be done about that. But, like, if everything's okay, just move on. Like, Spears has already came out and he said, he's like, I accepted that my career was over years ago, and he's like, it's definitely done now. And he doesn't really have any friends either, from what I can tell. I don't know if he's just a straight up asshole, but anytime I've seen a clip of him where somebody's like said, hey, I heard you talk shit about this person, and then he explains it, like, he actually has shit to back up. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I think he just lives life with a chip on his shoulder 24/7, as opposed to just like, you know, he won't go out of his way to be an asshole to you, but if you show up and he doesn't like you, like, he'll let you know.
I mean, I'll say that that's probably fair for a guy in his line of work and at the point in his career it is, because, you know, how pissed are you going to be if someone drudges up something that, well, I doubt you've ever made a PSA like that before, Ian, but if someone drudges up something that you really don't want to hear about and kind of harps on it, eventually you're going to get pissed.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck knows, I know that feeling. And, you know, if you've ever been bullied before, it's the same sort of thing. And what is that old saying about violence begets violence? It's the same for this sort of thing too. I hope that they can get it resolved and people deal with trauma in their own ways, and I get that. And I didn't know it went that deep, but I just, situations like that are no-win situations for the crowd. To go back to your original point, to the crowd of censorship and what you can and can't joke about. Well, you can joke about it. There might be a voice loud that says you can't joke about it, but George Carlin beat it, Richard Pryor beat it, Sam Kinison beat it. I mean, the list goes on and on for the ones that said. Dave Chappelle is still beating it, no pun intended, but you know, there's so much bad in the world that I've always been confused by what you can and can't make the joke about, because people have defense mechanisms and they're going to make jokes when a bad event happens to try to compartmentalize it and try to process it in their own way. I'm one of those people. When a bad event happens, probably in poor taste at some point, but I may say something, you know, off the cuff. Like you were saying, your outside voice versus your inside voice. Some people hear it and some people don't. You know, my example was the invasion of Ukraine. When that happened, that was pretty serious shit. Because we're in an internet age where we have friends all over, and you know,
we've only ever seen Risk play out in a history book, not live action.
Not live action, and I'm not counting Global War on Terror either, because that was Desert Storm 2. But stuff like that, you know, you have to make jokes, and I come from a background. Not to get too much into my academic background, but I studied guerrilla warfare, and I studied resistance groups, and I studied all of the kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's warlike stuff. I had to watch war footage of stuff that I will never be able to scrub from my brain. And I still watch that stuff to try to keep up with actions on technology and advances and geopolitics, like all of that stuff. You learn a little bit. Some of it's graphic and some of it's horrible. But at the end of the day, you know, am I going to make a Russian tank joke probably before I go to bed tonight? Yes. Yes, I will. Russia is the 7th largest supplier of tanks to the Ukrainian army right now because they keep abandoning them on the field. That is true. So your enemy is supplying you with tanks. That's awesome. But subjects like that, like the wood chipper joke, I don't condone violence. But I have to go back to what David Hess said about Last House on the Left. A movie that I bring up all the time because I do think it's important because of the message of the movie. It's an anti-violence movie. And how do you make an anti-violence movie? Well, you can't make an anti-violence movie without showing violence, because if the violence is raw,
of violence.
yeah, if the violence is raw and it's real and you feel it in your soul. I mean, that movie, when they filmed the gut-pulling scene, Wes Craven said they broke. Everybody went their separate ways at lunch. Nobody talked to each other because they felt so bad. That's the cold truth about violence at the end of the day, because it affects everybody different. And I'm not going to say that this was the best execution of something to talk about, you know, one, being a neglectful parent, because a lot of people aren't ready to have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably one thing that triggered people off, because they saw themselves in
what she was doing. Yeah.
And what she was doing. And then on the other hand, you can't talk about the other horrible thing a lot of the times either, in that, because people think you can't make a joke about it. And I can go ahead and tell you, there's a whole subreddit where, when it got announced that Kevin Spacey allegedly did what he did, that the wood chipper memes began. And I still have a flip book full of them, pretty much, from the ones I saved, because I thought, well, that's kind of funny. So I'm not going to dig my hole on trying to explain this anymore, because I think I've done a pretty piss poor job of trying to. But and maybe I didn't. You know, apologies if I did offend anybody on that, because I know that that is a sensitive subject to some.
I was worried about bringing it up, but like I said, it hit that one note that I'm not saying you have to like it, but you can't say no to it. You know what I mean? Like, it in my opinion, anyway. Like it, as long as nobody's actually getting hurt, which is possible that actually happened on this, which I'm not, like I said, the idea that this put into me, I'm not trying to use it on this. I'm not defending what they did in this. Like, this is not a good example. You know what I mean? But it was the reaction to it where I was just like, hold up. Like, I agree with what you're saying to a certain point, but then it's like, to say you can't joke, like, I'm like, that's how bad shit happens when you stop acknowledging things.
That's
Even
how
if
you're doomed to
yeah,
repeat history.
exactly. So
That's how book burnings happen. That's how the video nasties happened in the UK. That's how Tipper Gores show up. That's how, I mean, Jesus, can we just keep listing on all of the media crusaders who said you can have this but not that.
I think my best example, because I was trying to think of a positive example. Now this one doesn't particularly pertain to kids, but Tom Savini, like that dude, like even what you said, just the shit that you said that you had to watch that you can't get out of your head. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what that is, and I don't want to know what's in Tom Savini's head, but I have an idea.
Yeah.
And like I said, he took that trauma and turned it into art. Like to me, like I said, that's a win. That is a win. Like he could have just kept that in and bottled up and it fuck him up. But no, he took that knowledge, that awfulness, and put it into the movies, because it was just like, no, unfortunately, it looks like this, and the movie was better for it.
The movie was better for it.
He was a better person for it too, because like I said, he's probably working some shit out every time he makes something.
Therapeutic. There we go.
Yeah.
It's very therapeutic. It also, he can be proud of a lot of things. Tom Savini helped set a special effects standard that hasn't been quite replicated to this day, and he continues it through Greg Nicotero of K&B Effects because he was his mentor. And now
I love that he started a school too.
He started a school. He does the masks for WWE. He did COVID masks for half masks, the NES version of Friday the 13th. All of the good that could come out of a traumatic experience, he was able to express it through film and through his own artistry. And that's pretty powerful. And he did it the right way. Yes, there's a right way and there's a wrong way, but at the very least, they tried to do something good. But again, the road to hell was paved with good intentions, and that's where they're at. Are they paying for their sin now? Yeah, in the public court, which is pretty much the court that rules right now with a lot of things.
I'd rather deal with Judge Judy.
I'd rather deal with Judge Judy. Maybe you can get a Chewbacca defense in there to get out of it, but
it does not make sense.
I have sympathies anytime something like that happens to a point. Again, your Weinsteins and your allegedly Spaceys, there's some substantiated shit there that makes you go, okay, well that's bad. But they were never really trying to make a PSA. They were just trying to make money, and then they were just shitbags at the end of the day. Trying to bring humor into a subject. What was the was it Different Strokes that had the bicycle shop owner?
Yes, with what you talking about? That
Gary Coleman.
Gary Coleman. Yes, it was. You're right. You're absolutely right. I remember that now.
That's a family show with a laugh track that tackled the exact same subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets brought up on Family Guy and crickets everywhere else. I know some people do bring it up, and is it any better than this?
I think they executed it a lot better on that show, but
they did because there were certain TV guidelines they had to follow.
Right. But yeah, like I said, there was an attempt to put comedic stuff into this, but just nothing landed. It was just like that funny, creepy line that you have to ride sometimes, where really the only way to successfully navigate it is to lean a little bit more into the funny as long as the funny outweighs the creepy, even by a millimeter.
Yep.
You're going to be all right. but theirs was not that way. It was just, you couldn't get past the visual spectacle of what you were seeing, and to where anything that might have been fun, like I said, the whole thing about her being like, oh, it's a 24-hour post op, I didn't catch that shit till the second time I watched it, because I was just like, what the fuck is going on here?
That that kind of humor needs to be out in the that's like a Zucker Brothers visual gag where it shows it cross cuts to the post office and it's got a bright neon sign that says open 24 hours, kind of deal. Like I get what they're trying to do, and damn, you swung, you missed so hard you went into a different sport, and that's not good. But I dare I tell you that you shouldn't have attempted it.
Not my place. Not my place. It's, like I said, if it's something, I am constantly told that Hereditary is an amazing movie. I have still yet to watch that motherfucker because I know roughly what happens in the beginning.
Yeah.
and I'm not talking shit about the movie. I'm sure it's a fantastic film, but I'm not ready. But I know that, and I'm willing to admit that about myself.
I've got and I had to watch it in parts because a similar thing. Robert Forster, Fred Williamson, two of our guys, in a movie by Bill Lustig, who did Maniac Cop, love him, called Vigilante, has a similar, and the scene's pretty hard to watch, and I wouldn't tell people that it was done in poor taste. It's a revenge movie, so no, it's not done in poor taste. That's how you get to the revenge part. The hero has to lose something. Nobody complained in The Punisher when everybody died.
Class of '84. I did not like what they did to Mr. Norris's wife.
No,
but that had to happen in order to justify what he does in revenge to those kids.
Dare I bring up Cannibal Holocaust? Because people have boycotted it for years, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere as long as Grindhouse Releasing holds the rights to it. But in order for that movie to work, and now, oddly enough, with the topic we've got today about media biases and the way people look at stuff, that movie was way ahead of its time on that, and it would not have worked if that entire found footage section didn't happen. If everything else was cut out of it, and all it was the is it Robert Kerman or Robert Kerman? The Robert Kerman section. If that was all we had in it, the movie wouldn't have nearly as much impact as seeing what four people in the jungle would do for a story. And you can't have that.
Do you think if it was the reverse and it was just the found footage part and like just that, you're like, that homeboy would have got arrested for sure then?
I mean, knowing he got arrested, knowing he got arrested for having it combined together, if that was all they were, like McPherson tape, like that would be like, if that would be like just releasing the McPherson tape with none of the intro and outro credits, and you're like, damn, that family got abducted by little alien guys. I think he would have got arrested. I don't think it would have been. I think it would have been on site too. I mean, there's plenty of movies like that though that you go back into history and they have, they're trying to send a message. Yes, they're exploitation movies, but exploitation movies have that power to be able to talk about things.
It's in the title of the genre.
Which is a misnomer in and of itself. All exploitation means is that they're made on the cheap and meant to exploit the audience. That's it.
Mm-hmm. But even somebody at a third grade reading level, even if they didn't understand that, they'd be like, "Doesn't sound like a good thing."
No. But some of our favorite movies are, and American Rickshaw. What's up? Yep. I'll go back to the old Wes Craven quote because Sparrow used it in a thread on Twitter the other day and tagged me in it, and I can't take credit for that, but I do like it. Wes Craven told the guy that plays as the cameraman in Scream that you can tell any story and have any message you want in a horror movie as long as every 10 or 15 minutes so you get to reach out and grab you. and that's it. And I think that's a good point. Dawn of the Dead is a great example of that because it's about consumerism gone mad, and how many people jumped at the opportunity, including myself, to get that deluxe 4K set about a movie that's about mass consumerism gone wild. Go back and look at Day of the Dead. It was a little on the nose, but it was about the relationship between average civilians, scientists who think that they are better than everybody else, and the military who thinks they have all the answers, and it was all of them merged together. Zombie movies have always had that kind of power. Slasher movies have that kind of power now as they start to evolve. They used to just be cannon fodder like The Prey when we watched it and had no idea what was going on. But before that, Bay of Blood with Mario Bava, it was about, everybody was a killer pretty much in it, and it was about land grabs. It was about thievery. I mean, we watched 3 movies last night for my birthday. Bird with the Crystal Plumage was about misinterpreting events. If you paid attention in the opening scene, you would have seen, spoiler alert, that the woman was actually trying to kill the guy in the coat because she was the one that had the knife, not him. Cat o' Nine Tails, similar types of, let's see, so that one was Science Gone Mad, where the scientist realized that he had the whole thing that turns people into a psychotic killer, and instead of saying, well, I'm not a psychotic killer, he becomes a psychotic killer and kills people because he's hiding the fact he's a psychotic killer. You have all of this kind of stuff. And even when it's done in poor taste, there's oftentimes something in it that brings it back up out of the bottom of the barrel. And we don't crucify them for that, and we oftentimes celebrate them. And maybe that's what we need to get back to, is trying to figure out where that line is for us and not for the person sitting next to you, because their line may be further up than yours is.
If I'm going to tie this all back around in a nice little bow. Buddy, can you shut the door? Can someone shut the fucking door?
My sound bar. Where's my sound bar?
Dexter. Kid was born in a fucking barn. Anyway, if I can tie this all back around.
Took us some places there, my bad.
To kind of segue into the main event tonight, a funny, by the way, kind of PS thing that I saw looking into all of this Spears and Haddish shit. So like I said, Spears he's either an asshole or just has a giant chip on his shoulder 24/7. But apparently he got into an argument with Jordan Peele.
Oh.
And he said a lot of shit about him. And then like shortly thereafter, he went on a movie audition and Jordan Peele was the producer. And Jordan Peele just walks out and Spears just like, go ahead and leave. See, that's what I mean. He burned all his bridges. It's not like he's got any friends. So
maybe he'll have a Hulu style comeback story.
Maybe. As long as they don't do him dirty like Mike Tyson, apparently. That's a fucking thing. Because Hulu's got that new Mike Tyson thing coming out, like it's a bio thing on Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson had nothing to do with it, and he's fucking pissed. You don't ever piss off Iron Mike Tyson.
I was about to say, was that the smartest play that you could have done? Because I know he's calmed down a lot now, but I've watched the guy fight in the last 5 years.
No,
he still fight.
He has a switch. Now, he fully admits that he doesn't always have full control of the switch. That's why he smokes a lot of weed now. But if you set him off, switch is going on.
The violence has escalated.